Welcome to Mideast Focus. I'm Tal Heinrich. Today on the program, we bring you to the south of Israel to take a closer look into the lives of the Bedouin people. Now, Bedouins are found all across the Middle East. Here in Israel, mostly in the Negev desert. When we think of the term Bedouin, we usually tend to imagine nomadic lifestyle of shepherds living in tribes in tents in the desert, but this might no longer be a representative picture for this entire community. I-24 News' Lauren Izo explains in this next report.
A life on the desert tracks. Since the dawn of time, the Bedouins have traveled with their herds in the desert of the Arabian Peninsula, Sinai, and the Negev. They are a nomadic Arab people. Traditionally, their livelihood is based on breeding sheep and camels. The Bedouins have often been described as living outside of time. Yet, from the dunes of Sinai to the sands of Saudi Arabia, history has not spared them, and progress has changed the very foundations of their way of life. Little by little, the introduction of motorized vehicles replaced the camel and revolutionized Bedouin society as we know it. The camel, which until then had a central function, lost its status and turned the existing social structures upside down. Another revelation that has affected the very identity of the Bedouin people is their transition from their nomadic lifestyle. As early as the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire viewed the Bedouins as a group difficult to control by a central government in Istanbul. Then began a policy of sedentism of the Bedouins, a process of permanent settling that continued throughout the 20th century. Following Israel's War of Independence in 1948, most Bedouins of the Negev relocated. In early years of Israel's statehood, Bedouins still lived a nomadic life and saw no necessity to register ownership on their land. In the eyes of the government, the Bedouins created a Bedouin enclave in the Negev, a place where state law did not apply, with unrecognized settlements and illegal structures on state land. The government tried to solve this problem in two different ways: evacuating unrecognized settlements and building towns in the Negev for the Bedouin people. They built 7 towns in the northeast of the Negev for the Bedouin population, and about half took them up on the offer. Others remained in villages unrecognized by the government. Many lacked infrastructure for basic necessities such as running water and electricity. Most of these unrecognized towns faced threats of destruction and displacement by the government, who wanted Negev Bedouins to settle in government-regulated communities. A plan was formulated in 2011 that would have the state uproot 40,000 Bedouins from their lands, confiscate their property, and force the inhabitants to resettle in government-approved towns. This 5-year plan was described by the government as part of a campaign to develop the Negev. But in practice, Bedouin property rights in the Negev would cease to exist, since formal recognition of unrecognized villages is also conditioned on the application of exceptionally draconian planning criteria. Mass protests in 2013 led to rescinding the implementation of the bill. Now, the Bedouin population in the Negev numbers around 200,000. Just over half of them live in the 7 government-built Bedouin-only towns. The remaining 90,000 live in 46 villages, 35 of which are unrecognized, and 11 of which were only officially recognized 10 years ago. The rate of growth of the Negev Bedouin is the highest in the world. The Bedouin population doubles its size every 15 years. If the Israeli government does not find a common ground and reach a solution, the Bedouin communities of the Negev will continue to grow, while their nomadic roots and ethnic traditions may be on the verge of disappearing.
Although the nomadic lifestyle of the Bedouins might have changed throughout the years, one prominent characteristic of this community had remained, and that is hospitality. And when I'm talking about hospitality, you might think to yourself, I also treat my guests with some coffee and snacks, but trust me, it is nothing like this, and we're just about to witness. With me here is Sheikh Muhammad. Thank you so much for hosting us here at Kfar Nokdim.
Nice to meet you here.
So how is this concept of hospitality has really remained, whereas other things have changed, other traditions?
Okay, first, in our culture, very important for us to invite the people of charity, to invite them. This is the way for Abraham father. And we believe about when we serve them, when we help them, that God help us. And everyone, if you come from outside, they have home, they have place to sleep, food, and you don't need money with you if you come to stay with us.
Everyone, including strangers?
If everyone, for us, all the visitors, same, everyone. They are very important. They're very poor people. You know, we have to host them same.
Same as rich people coming at your door.
Exactly. And if we talk about, you know, when you come first, we have to serve you coffee.
Okay, and what's so special about this coffee? Because I can see the grains in here.
Okay, first when the guests come, we have to take green coffee beans to roast them. When they're ready, we put in the mortar here, and we crush them by hand. Okay, like music.
That's your espresso machine.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, like music, yes. Why we do that is to tell the neighbors we have visitors. We invite the neighbors. I need them to come to help me to talk with, also to talk with my guests, to enjoy with the special food what I serve my guests, to hear news.
So it takes time until the guest drinks the coffee. How long does it take?
We have enough time in the desert, you know.
Of course. So how long does it take? And then after you put it here and you leave it here on the fire for...
Do hair for anything?
Okay, wait. I want to try it first.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we do it?
You know, first we serve the guest, you know, before, you know, we serve the guest 3 cups of coffee, 3 cups of
3 cups?
Yeah, 2 sips in the cup for the welcome guest. And the first cup, for example, you know, in Arabic we said, للضيف. This means you're welcome. And the second, safe sword, we protect you when you stay.
And the third?
Okay, fun. You're welcome. You safe to enjoy with your time. This is the message.
Third is for fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say...
for example, to enjoy with your time when you sit in my tent, you know.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to have the fun one now, okay?
The first one. Okay. Yalla.
All right, thank you so much. I gotta say, it smells amazing. That's really good. That's really good. It's really different, I gotta say. The texture itself, it's nothing like the machines.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, you said this is for a welcome guest.
Yeah.
What's happening with whether the guest is not so welcome?
You know, if the guest, when he sit in our tents, if he don't respect us, or this is something bad, you know, we serve them full cup of coffee. That's mean bye-bye.
So a full cup means you're unwelcomed?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I was welcomed.
Of course, you know.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much for this, Sheikh Muhammad. I'm happy to be welcomed.
We're happy to see you here, you know.
The Bedouin community in Israel accounts for about 3.5% of the population. As Israeli Arabs, they're not required by law to serve in the military, unlike the Jewish or the Druze population, for example. But each year, between 5 to 10% of Bedouin of draft age volunteer to do so. We are here at a military base called Kisufim. It is adjacent to the border with Gaza, and the Bedouin Brigade is currently being deployed here. And we're joined by Chief Sergeant Muhammad Shibli. Thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about your mission? What exactly are you doing here?
Our mission is mainly to protect the communities and the citizens of the South. We are here to maintain their normal routine, whether it's in the work, agriculture, or educational institutions. We are doing everything we can to keep the southern region calm.
Muhammad, correct me if I'm wrong, but once the Bedouins were pretty unusual among Israel's Arabs for their willingness to serve in the IDF, but recently these numbers have been declining. Is there any explanation to that?
Serving here as a military medic, I am also somewhat responsible for the process of enlisting Bedouin to the army, not only from the south of the country, but also from the north. And I can tell you that there is an increase, even more than in past years. This increase is being felt differently than before. Several years ago, there used to be a battalion made up only of Bedouin soldiers, and they mostly engaged in tracking missions. This started before the establishment of the state. Gradually, recruiting and enlisting changed. Today's Bedouin youth are different. They enlist to the IDF in much higher numbers, and not only to the Bedouin battalion, but into the entire IDF. They serve in different units and different zones. So we can say that today the numbers keep rising, not declining.
Why was it important to you to serve in the IDF? Were you facing some moral dilemmas before deciding to enlist?
To me, it's first and foremost a family tradition. My father, brother, uncles all served in the IDF, so the tradition is still ongoing. We all live in one country, the state of Israel, and there is no other land for us. We live here, and all our neighbors surrounding us aspire to annihilate us. I live in this country and I feel a part of it. So when they want to destroy this country, they want to destroy me, since I am living among the Jewish community. So I must contribute and do my part. Only then can I move on. Another thing that has affected me personally is the stories of the Jewish Holocaust that I was exposed to. I don't want such a thing to ever happen again. It is pure hatred that leads to all of that. And when it comes to morality, the IDF is the most moral military in the world. As an Israeli Arab and a Bedouin, I am proud to serve in this moral military. We treat injured Palestinians from Gaza. One time we even risked our own lives to save the life of a child from Gaza. And I have never seen such a thing anywhere else.
So many Bedouins who serve in the IDF do it as trackers. What is exactly the mission of a tracker? Why are the Bedouins so good at this?
The Bedouin of the south used to travel from place to place in the past with their herds. So when a sheep went missing, they knew how to track it, find it, and bring it back to the herd. So they have highly developed visual and mental senses. And they're not only tracking tracks. It's also trouble spots and mined areas around the border fence and exposing dangerous minefields. They have the skills to do it. Throughout the history, the trackers have saved many soldiers' lives.
Chief Sergeant Muhammad Chibli, thank you so much for this. Success in the high-tech industry is one of the most common aspirations for young adults here in Israel. But is it possible to succeed in this marketplace with so many stereotypes accompanying you to each and every job interview, and with no guarantee one even has internet access at home? Well, apparently it is possible. Meet the first primarily Bedouin software firm located here in Omer, close to Beersheba.
This is my desk. My wife also uses it. Whoever needs to use it for studies does that over here. Something major is missing here though, and that is the internet.
So you don't have internet at home?
No, there is no internet because there is no infrastructure for the internet.
Khaled is 27 years old. 2 years ago, he graduated from the University of Beersheba with a degree in software and electricity engineering. Despite his high grade, average of dozens of applications and resumes sent for relevant positions, he didn't succeed in finding a job.
Very few times did I hear back from the companies. So I started teaching physics and electricity in high school. It was a nice experience, but I've always wanted to work in high tech.
You're the one who got Khaled out of his high school teaching position.
Yes, we can decently say so.
So without you, he would have still been a high school teacher now.
Yes, without us, without me, without Sadel, he could have stayed in the schooling system. I offered him and convinced him to leave that high school.
Why did he have to convince you to leave it?
You always have these doubts that in this field you might find yourself one day without work. But working in high tech was always my dream.
Welcome to Sadel Technologies, the first Bedouin software firm.
In the world?
We can say in the world.
4 years ago, Ibrahim Sana understood that if you want to see more Bedouin work in high tech, you must provide them with the means. So he started this software firm. Most employees here, just like Khaled, had given up on their dream of working in tech until they met with him.
The first obstacle is the fact that Bedouins mostly reside in the Negev, in the periphery, far away from the heart of the tech industry in Tel Aviv. The second obstacle has to do with the recruiting system of the tech industry, what is called a friend brings a friend. The third obstacle is stereotypes, prejudice. Unfortunately, it plays a big role.
After a decade as an employee working for Cisco, among other companies, he decided to become an entrepreneur. Today, he employs 15 Bedouin employees, 5 of them women. Despite the barriers, politics and prejudice, Ibrahim tries to be optimistic and realistic. Instead of complaining, he would rather focus on work and let the results speak for themselves.
Our dream here in Sadil Technologies is to become a tech firm which employs hundreds of employees from the Bedouin sector of the population. In the future, it could become an ecosystem in everything related to high-tech entrepreneurship in the Arab sector.
And that is all from Mideast Focus for today. We really hope you enjoyed this journey and some Bedouin hospitality. And before we say the final goodbye, we will leave you with the beautiful sounds of the desert.